Most lawyers never realize that they're losing cases because of hidden psychological triggers in their marketing. And in this video, I'm going to show you 3 dark psychological tactics that you can use to get prospects to choose you before they even compare you with another law firm. And if you start using these today, you're going to notice a shift in how people respond to your law firm almost immediately. Even if you don't execute these tactics perfectly, you're still going to outconvert your competition. So the first dark psychological tactic that you can use is something called labeling. And this will actually get your prospect to talk themselves into hiring you during the consultation. It's one of my favorite things to do. There was a market research company that operated out of a shopping mall. And what they were trying to do is get people to complete surveys. So they would go up to people and they would say, hey, would you mind taking this survey? And 75% of people said, no, I don't have time to take your survey. I don't take your stupid survey. So that meant that they only got a 25% response rate. But they actually made a change to their tactic. And when they changed this tactic, it resulted in 75% of people saying, yes, I will take your survey, as opposed to only 25% of people saying, yes, they would take the survey. And what they did is they changed the question that they asked first before asking if they would take the survey. They went up to people and they said, hey, do you consider yourself to be a helpful person? And the person would say, yeah, I'm pretty helpful. They say, oh, cool. Well, would you help me out by taking this survey? Now, this worked because people will act in a way that is consistent with self-assigned labels. So what they did is they first, before even asking if they would take the survey, they got the person to self-assign themselves a label as a helpful person. And then what does a helpful person do? Well, a helpful person is going to help somebody out when they need help. And when you say, hey, would you help me out by taking this survey? Now they act in a way that is consistent with their self-assigned label. This is why when someone says, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, it is very, very difficult to change their mind and change their opinions, because that would be going against their self-assigned labels. This is why even when you present one side with facts, it's because it's very, very difficult for people to act in a way that conflicts with their self-assigned labels. The way that you use this in your law firm is when you're talking to a lead during your consultation, you want to make sure that you're asking them questions that get them to self-label. So for example, let's say you're a family law attorney and you're talking to a father and you're talking about child custody and father's rights and things like that. You want to ask them questions that get them to admit that being an active and a present father is very, very important to them. That way, when you offer to represent them in their child custody hearing, they are much more likely to hire you because that's consistent with the label that they have already self-assigned. So you always want to be thinking about, how can I ask questions that are going to get the prospect to self-label themselves so that they assume an identity, and that identity should be consistent with somebody that would hire your law firm for that service. Now, our second dark psychological tactic is something that will leave you feeling like you can control people's minds. This is actually really, really crazy. And it is how you strategically use the word but. Now, back in 2015, Netflix consistently raises their monthly prices by $1 or so every couple years just to keep up with inflation and to cover expenses, and frankly, probably to make more money, right? But in 2015, they sent out an email and it actually didn't cause an uproar. And the reason why is the email said, we're increasing your monthly price by $1, but this will allow us to bring you even more great shows and movies that you love, including exclusive originals. Now, historically, people got pretty upset every time Netflix said they were raising the prices, even if it was just by $1. And the reason why is because their emails used the wrong formatting. Historically, this same email would have said something like this: we're bringing you even more great shows and movies, including exclusive originals. Unfortunately, we're going to have to raise your monthly price by $1. So what was the difference in these two emails? Well, the difference is how they use the word but. People place an emotional emphasis on whatever is said after the word but. So what you want to do is make sure that if you have bad news, you want to lead with the bad news, then use the word but, And then you want to present the good news. Then you want to present the thing that you want people to actually focus on. So imagine you're a DUI attorney and you're talking to a prospective client and you're about to tell them how much it's going to cost for them to represent you. There's two ways that you could do this. $5,000 for us to represent you, but we're going to fight your DUI and do every single thing that we can do to keep you out of jail. The second option is going to land much softer because after the word but is focused on fighting their DUI and keeping them out of jail. And that's the thing that you actually want them to focus on. So the second line that I used will work much better and is much more likely to get the client to actually hire you because now they're focused on the thing that you actually want them to focus on, which is the benefit to them and not the price. Now, our third and final dark psychological tactic that you can use to grow your law firm is going to make people automatically see you as the absolute best option to represent them in their case, especially when they're comparing you to your competitors. Now, if you've ever been to a conference, you'll notice that often they have an MC, and the MC's job is to make the person who's about to come on stage look like an absolute rock star. And the reason that they want to do this is because by solidifying the presenter's authority status, it makes the audience much more receptive to their presentation. Well, you can do this in your law firm as well, because when someone other than you says how awesome you are, people believe it. And it doesn't matter if that person is actually paid by you. Think about this. You've never gone to a conference and seen the MC and the MC hypes up somebody and you say, yeah, they're probably just paid to say that. Well, yeah, they are paid to say that, but you didn't think about that. You just paid attention to what they said. You paid attention to the presenter's credentials and you were like, oh, okay, yeah, this person is an authority. I am going to listen to this person. Well, you can do the same thing at your law firm. All you have to do is have your intake person or your receptionist or whoever is answering the phone and talking to new leads do the same thing, and you can give them some lines that they can use every single time. So typically what happens when somebody calls a law firm is the phone will ring and the receptionist will say law firm and the person will say, hi, I was arrested for DUI. And the reception says, okay, let's get your name, your phone number, your email address, and let's set up a time for you to come in and talk to an attorney. But you can train this person to say one or two lines that's going to make you look like a rock star, that's going to cement your authority status, that's going to make the lead be more receptive to whatever you have to say during your presentation in the consultation, right? So instead, you could train them to say something like this: ring, ring, law firm. Hi, I was arrested for DUI. Okay, well, I'm sorry you were arrested for DUI, but you made a fantastic choice calling this firm. Attorney Smith is probably the best DUI attorney in the entire state, and he has helped lots and lots of people who've gotten DUIs just like you. So let's get your information and we'll get you in for a consultation. Just that little pre-framing will make a massive difference in terms of whether somebody decides to, first of all, book the consultation and then show up for the consultation and then hire you during the consultation. So if you use these 3 dark psychological techniques in your marketing and your sales for your law firm, your client cases will skyrocket.